Good morning to everyone. I hope everyone had a wonderful Mother's Day. I know that personally I had a fantastic Mother's Day. My kids were amazing. I got the best card ever. I'm going to read it to you. Hang on. So, look how cute this is. I didn't know I was going to read this to you, or I would have had it ready. So, it says there's no award for being a great mom. Hi, Roger. Good morning. And then on the inside it says, but there totally should be. And then my son, Gabriel, wrote all this part, and then Jack signed it. So I got to read this to you. So there's no award for being a great mom, but there totally should be. And he says, because dot, 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 you're an amazing, kind, loving, energetic sleepyhead that's always helping and caring for us, keeping your family healthy, and being super, super, super califragilisticexpialidocious. I love you so much, and I hope today is the greatest of all beautiful. And then he points down here and it says, Jack Green, love you. So I've got, good morning, Dagmar. So I've got one, you missed it. You missed the love letter from my kid. It's fantastic. But you can see you make me smile so big. I think my favorite part is when he called me a sleepyhead, and then he says, I hope today is the greatest of all beautiful. It was so cute because it literally it was as if I got a card written from myself to myself, which was fantastic. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today with parenting. So every second Monday of the month at 10 o'clock, I will be doing parenting talks. So if you have anything that you'd like me to cover for you in parenting, that's what we'll be doing on Tuesday mornings. And I figured, well, we've got the aftermath of Mother's Day. I love social media because some people are like, oh, I had the greatest Mother's Day ever. They brought me breakfast in bed, and then I got pampered and went to the spa, and they all massaged me and blah, blah. And then there's other parents who are like, legit, like, this was the worst Mother's Day ever. I hate my life. Right. So we have people who on social media, on one hand, you're having the greatest life ever. And on the other hand, it was the shittiest day you've ever experienced. But I'm here to tell you it's just a day, and that you can shift all of that. I mean, if you're having the spa day and the breakfast in bed, you want to keep that. But if you're not, if you're having the crappiest day ever, I want to help to bring you over to having the most wonderful kids who are paying attention to you and playing with you, and writing you love letters like the one that I got. That's too cute. So last week, balance in all of the buckets. And so if you missed that, let's see, I'll just give you a quick recap. I have a little list here, don't I? I thought I did. Nope. Hang on a second. I'm sorry. So basically, what the work-life bucket thing is it goes in order. So we start with these buckets on the bottom. And if our buckets on the bottom are filled, then we can kind of move up to the next level. It's kind of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, but this is what I've noticed in my coaching practice with people. And so we're noticing our thoughts and our body pain, then we're changing our beliefs. We're working on self-love. We're working on self-care. Then we get into boundaries and worthiness. And then it starts flourishing out into relationships. So you have relationships with your spouse or your significant other, relationships with your kids, relationship with God, relationship with yourself is really the first, what would that be, 5 buckets. And then once you start having nice balanced relationships, then we can move into like having a balance, work-life balance, where you're actually living in your purpose. So today we're going to be talking in the relationship realm, which is most of the time where I'm talking, because that seems to be where most of the breakdown is, if it isn't in the body. So let's talk about relationship with our kids today. So most people, when they talk about parenting, they're going like, well, this is this and that is that, and if you do this, you get those results, and if you do that, you should do this and you should do that, and parenting should look this way or that way. So what I've learned over the course of all of my studying is that you've got people who are telling you let your kids cry it out, and then you got people telling you that you should attach your child to your belly and never let go of it, right? 2 completely different schools of thought. So my personal parenting school of thought doesn't have anything to do with that. If you want to let your kid cry it out, that's fine. If you want to have your kid attached to you at all times, that's fine too. My parenting, the parenting style that I teach is all about what's the relationship that you have with your kid like, and how is it a reflection of the relationship you have with yourself. So if I have a really healthy, loving, beautiful relationship with myself, and I like who I am and I feel confident about who I am, then I'm going to have that same relationship with my kids. One of my friends says, if you want to know what you're thinking, just ask your kids what they're thinking, and you'll find out what you're thinking, because they're actually just a little reflection of who you are. And so as I increase and learn to love my inner child, yeah, thank you, Dagmar. It makes sense to me too. As I learn to love my inner child. So let's say my inner child struggles with not feeling wanted. We talked about this earlier. So if I struggle with not feeling wanted, then my kid is actually gonna more than likely feel not wanted also by me. So the interaction that we have together is going to be one of maybe neglect or abandonment. So if I work on my stuff about feeling wanted, and I work on my self-worthiness and the fact that I matter, maybe because maybe before I didn't feel like I mattered because maybe the way I was parented. So I'm working on my stuff. It doesn't end up getting projected all over my kids. Is this making sense for you guys? So you need to create this for yourself first. Yeah, you need to create this for yourself first. So if I feel good inside, then my kid is going to feel good inside. We are models for them, right? We don't just model behavior. We actually model emotional sobriety. So if you look at adult children of alcoholics, which comes from AA and codependency and all of that kind of stuff, it's really interesting. You can see how emotional patterns are also passed down to kids. So if I'm feeling a lot of shame, or if I'm feeling a lot of anger and I don't know what to do with that, I'm emotionally unsober. My kid, just the same way that if my mother is an alcoholic and I never pick up a drink, I'm going to behave as an alcoholic behaves, because I'm that's what we do as kids. We model behavior. So if I'm modeling a life of being a victim, or I'm modeling a life of shame, then my kid is going to also think that, they're not good enough if I'm modeling shame, or if I'm being a victim, they're going to model being a victim. If I'm always going, oh, I can't do it, I can't figure out how to do my life, my kid learns that's how we do life. And then my kid starts saying, oh, I can't figure out how to do life. I don't know how to do life. So if you're in any kind of denial and you want to know who you are, look at your kid, because they're modeling you. And don't look at your kid and be like, oh, they're modeling my spouse. No, because whatever you're noticing is who you are. It's you're not noticing. You might notice in your spouse that your spouse is blah, 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 but it's really you that you're noticing, because whatever we see in someone else, we're seeing in ourselves. So a lot of times we'll go, oh, well, my mom made me feel a lot of shame as a parent. Or maybe like, oh, I was really neglected or abandoned. So then we end up smothering our kid, right? Have you guys ever seen that? You ever seen somebody who's like, comes from like a really abusive family, and then they're like super loving with their kid? Here's the problem with that. The underlying emotional place that we're coming from is exactly the same in both of those. So if I was neglected, where was I? Neglected on this side and smothering on this side, underneath being neglected is a feeling of I'm not good enough. So I smother my kid because I feel like they're feeling like they're not good enough, and they get the same message that they're not good enough. Is that clear? So instead, what we want to work on is our own not good enough, or whatever our thing is. And then when I start feeling worthy and important, and that I matter, and that I'm beautiful, and that I have a contribution to the world, I start acting in a way that's beautiful and a contribution to the world, and I'm giving and I'm loving, and then my kid sees that and they start modeling it. Does that make sense? Now, if you learn this and your kid's already a teenager and you start learning this new way of being, it's going to mess with your kid's foundation, because they spent all those years learning who to be from you. And then basically you took that away from them and you're being someone else. So it's very, very confusing for teenagers if you start shifting that in the middle. Does that make sense? And so that's where communication really comes in, and being able to communicate effectively with your kid. So what doesn't work is being like, I'm the boss and what I say is the only way and you must listen to me, especially with teenagers. That doesn't work because we're all people. Yeah, the underline is the same. And actually, it's so funny because I was actually talking to Dagmar recently. My cat was scratching my furniture, and I was like, no, she's not supposed to scratch the furniture. She's supposed to scratch the scratching post. And Dagmar was like, you're not going to be able to get your cat to, like, if she wants to scratch the furniture, she's going to scratch the furniture. Right. And so that's the thinking is the cat is its own independent thing. So your kids are also their own independent thing. So just as much as I can't get my cat to stop scratching the furniture and go scratch the scratching post, what makes you think you're going to get your kid to start loving civics and getting an A in civics when he's his own independent person? He's not going to do what you want him to do. So it's the same that I do with the cat as I do with the kid. It's about relationship, and it's about, enrollment, and, it's about love and communicating. I mean, I don't know if you can communicate with your cat. I communicate with my cat and I tell her, I love you and I know you want to scratch. Let's do it over here. I don't know if it always works, but it's the same with the kid. You want to be able to enroll them in loving, having a loving relationship with you, and it's a back and forth thing. So I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to cover. I hope that you had a good Mother's Day. If you didn't have a good Mother's Day, you get to look at what's going on inside of you. Yeah, letting go of control. Yeah, well, I mean, control is where all power struggle is coming from. And you'll notice 2-year-olds will be like, no, I won't. You can't make me. Well, that's because they're starting to learn independence. So the first 6 months to 2 years, well, the first 6 months are completely dependent on you. And from 6 months to 2 years, they're learning how to be away from you. And once they get to 2 years old, they're learning their own sense of independence. And that's where you get, no, I won't, and you can't make me. No, I won't, and you can't make me. And no, I won't, and you can't make me. And some of us never stop being 2-year-olds. We just continue until we're 50 years old saying, no, I can't, and no, I won't, and you can't make me. And because they haven't actually learned communication skills and how to win-win negotiate with someone, and you teach them that as a parent. And if you can't figure out how to teach win-win negotiation skills with your 2-year-old, you're probably struggling with it in all of your relationships. So, and that has everything to do with your own sense of self-worth, your own sense of self-love, knowing what your boundaries are, and being able to communicate with another human being, and empathize with them. Because if you can feel that your 2-year-old really wants to scratch on the couch and not the scratching post or whatever it is, if you can feel that and you can share that feeling with them, you can empathize with them, and then you can help them to shift to do something else. So I think that's everything that I want to say. And I appreciate you guys being here with me. I appreciate you letting me share. If you got something really valuable out of this video today, please don't hesitate to share it with others. If any of this is like, you're going, wow, I didn't know that all my stuff is being projected onto my kid. What is my stuff? I don't even know what my stuff is. Oh, I look at my kid and I see, wow, that's my stuff must be that. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that. How do I change that? Reach out to me and we can have a chat and discuss, like, okay, is this just like normal kid behavior? Is this something that they're picking up from you? How did you learn it? Do you want to do inner child work? How do you communicate more effectively with your kid? All of that stuff I would be very, very happy to support you with, because my mission is to create peace in every family. I don't want kids feeling like they don't matter. I don't want any kids hiding in the closet because their parents are screaming at each other because they don't know how to communicate effectively. I don't want kids feeling like they need to make up for their parents' shortcomings. I don't want kids feeling like they need to parent their siblings because their parents have let go of the ball and are being irresponsible and victimy and going, well, I can't do this, so I'm going to make my 4-year-old watch my 2-year-old. I personally think that's totally and completely inappropriate, and I don't want to see it in the world. I want to see mothers and fathers empowered, and I want to see them living a life that's joyful and loving, and where you actually want to be connected with your kids. You want to play with your kids. You want to spend time with your kids, and that's an enjoyable experience. Because I think a lot of times people don't know how to be in relationship with their kids because they actually don't know how to be in relationship with themselves, and nobody was in relationship with them. You know what? Let me give you a story. Um, I had a client I did a hypnosis with. We were doing some inner child work, and nothing horrible happened. You know, it was nothing horrible. It was a big family full of people, and this was the youngest child, and this youngest child was put to bed early, and everybody else in the family was having fun without him. Um, and the feelings around that were abandonment and neglect. And so there was this big house full of people. And so the conscious thought is, I had a happy family. There were a lot of people around. We had a lot of fun together. But there were so many moments where he felt left out, or he felt like he wasn't old enough to participate in the fun. And there were plenty of moments where there actually wasn't even a parent around. It was just a lot of siblings. And we tell ourselves in our conscious mind so that we can actually cope with this, I had a great childhood. But when we go back and we do the inner child work, we realize I was so alone. I laid in my bed alone. Nobody tucked me in. Nobody said goodnight to me. And there's this feeling of everybody else is having fun, but I'm not included. There's this feeling of I'm not included. So now when he's parenting with his kids, he doesn't know how to include them because he never felt included. Does that make sense? Is everybody getting what I'm saying? So it can be as simple as that. And so basically in the hypnosis, we just reprogram it so that he feels love and he feels included, and he gets to have a voice, and he gets to say, hey, I don't feel included. And we get to figure out how to include him. So then he goes, oh my God, I'm not doing this with my own children. Now I realize why. So then everything starts to change with the way that he relates to his own children. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's kind of how this stuff works. That's why, and that's where peace comes. That's where this work-life balance idea, balance. What is balance? Balance is saying, I feel really good in this moment about what I'm doing. That's really all that balance is. It's not like I'm going to schedule this amount of time with these kids and this amount of time with my work and this amount of time doing blah, 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 blah. Like I used to think that balance meant scheduling. Balance is a thing that happens inside of you in the moment. So if in the moment I'm feeling balanced, there's peace in my house. There's peace with my kids. There's peace in my job. There's like being in the moment and feeling in balance in the moment. That's the way that we create peace. That's the way that we create balance. It's not about scheduling and making sure that all the boxes are checked. That's in my opinion, that's not what I mean. We try to get balance that way, but it never seems to work out. That doesn't end up being what balance is. Balance is a feeling that you feel inside of you. And when you feel balanced, you're living your life in balance. And it's taking those little moments of time to say, how do I get myself back into a place of balance? So that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope that you're having a wonderful, wonderful Monday morning, and that you have a great week, and that you can take this information, take it out into the world with you, take it into your homes with you, take it into yourself with you, look at your own inner child stuff, look at how you're treating your kids, and happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. I hope it was great, and if it wasn't, you get to do some self-care and some self-love today and treat yourself the way that you would like to be treated, so that the other people around you know what that is. Because if we know how to treat ourselves, then the people that we love know how to treat us as well. So love you guys. Thank you for joining me. Have an awesome week. I'll see you next week at 10 on Monday. And next week, we'll be doing relationship stuff. So we'll be looking at how all the inner child work and the boundary stuff plays out in relationships, talking more about intimacy and communication and vulnerability and intimacy. All right, see you guys then. Bye.